Welcome to Chronic Combat Conversations, a live look at our best bets, picks, and predictions for every UFC event. With your hosts, TV Scouting MMA and
The Guru back again for UFC Columbus. Chris Dawkis versus Curtis Razor Blaydes, man. I'm so excited. I can't believe it, man. UFC Fight Night 206, UFC on ESPN Plus 63. Man, I'm stumbling over my words because we got one of our good friends in the house tonight, MMA Twitter's own Manpreet, aka MMA Lock of the Night, one of the sharpest right now, man. Hot, hot, hot. What is going on, brother?
I'm good, man. I love that I got you trembling and flabbergasted over there with my presence on the show. But man, like I was telling you before we went live here, I am just like one of you guys. I just stayed consistent with it, just as you guys are as well. And man, we were supposed to do this a couple weeks ago. Schedule didn't work out. Glad that I was able to make it happen this week for you guys. And I'm super excited to break it down. You guys are awesome. You guys are very active on the Twitter timelines as well, sharing some good insights, sharing some good knowledge. And I couldn't be happier to hop on this stream with you guys and break down this Dawkis and Blaydes card.
Seriously, man, for real. You guys like Clint and Brady, like you guys are like kind of mini celebrities. So it really is just so humbling and just so awesome and gracious with your time. All you guys to just come on our pod, lucrative, just some of these really big names that have come and joined us. And
thanks,
man, you're just, just another big fish, man. So seriously, thank you so much.
It feels so weird to just be called like a mini celebrity or something, or even have fans and all that stuff. It's so weird. Like I'll never get used to it.
But hey, there's a reason.
I feel like we've already hung out and like smoked and chilled before, but like no, I'm hanging with you on my TV. That's why it's so weird, man. That's what kind of gives you that lore. But seriously, we got big fights to break down.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah. I mean, so please, you guys, we're about to jump into it, top to bottom. We're giving you our best bets. Please make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to our channel because we got the hits coming every week. Right now on a 3-week in a row heater, and we're looking to keep it going. And we're kicking off right away, heavyweight division once again. We're looking to right our wrongs from last week. We got Curtis Blaydes versus Chris Dawkis. And man, oh man, I mean, this fight, I think that there's a few question marks in the Chris Dawkis game that we're going to get to see really come to light here at the UFC level. I know all the way back when he was faced up against, Rodrigo Nascimento, I was thinking, oh man, I mean, if he could really get that wrestling working, then it's Oleinik. Like if he could get that wrestling working, and then Abdurakhimov, and here we are. Now we got Curtis Razor Blaydes. If it doesn't get a bigger test than that, when it comes to the wrestling department, I don't think it does, guys. So realistically, I mean, this fight, we got Curtis Blaydes at -400 and Chris Dawkis at +300. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking that the line might be a little bit appropriate here. I mean, Guru, what are you seeing?
It's really interesting because despite Curtis Blaydes, having maybe some knockout trouble in the past, he's consistently a favorite in his fights, man. It's was it only one fight, right? Was he an underdog in or any at all? But I mean, either way, he's heavy favorite here, and like you said, I think it's fair. He's going to dominate with the wrestling. The major discrepancy that you see with Chris Dawkis, and I think anybody that even considered taking a flyer on him has to be concerned with this. It's the level of competition, right? Sure, Alexei Oleinik, right? He's been around the block. We give him his respect and his props, but there's levels to this. And the guys that Blaydes has fought, and then, subsequently at some point lost to in terms of Derek Lewis and Francis Ngannou, these guys are the top of the food chain. The way he beat Volkov was extremely impressive to continue to fight through all that. The tough, the way that Volkov continued to get up, post up, and make Blaydes continue to work for it. I do like him here. The thing is, I'm kind of maybe struck with my confidence a little bit because of last week's co-main event. Do I want to play any sort of rounds on this to try to cut out some of that heavy money line on Blaydes? I was thinking maybe Curtis Blaydes rounds 1, 2, or 3 +130. I don't think that this gets to championship rounds. I'm not sure that Dawkis is a championship level fighter. What do you think here, buddy? Manpreet, my guy, lock of the night in the house. Let's go, baby.
Let's go. Let's fucking go. You guys are absolutely on the nail here in terms of this line being correct. If you guys remember, I'm glad that I forgot which one of you that brought it up, but way back when he fought, when Chris Dawkis fought Rodrigo Nascimento, Nascimento was a minus 230 favorite going into that fight, plus 190 on Chris Dawkis. And I think a lot of people were looking at, okay, his regional tape didn't look the greatest, especially when it got into the grappling realm. Apparently, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, doesn't really showcase it because he likes to go out there and sling them bows. But I do like the Curtis Blaydes side here, and I do think he can actually get the finish as well. I think just taking him straight up inside the distance, minus 145 is a great way to go about it, because I think he'll be able to get Dawkins to the ground more often than not, really just rag on him, maybe even get a finish similar to that Overeem fight where he's able to posture up and really start landing some big shots. But one last thing I'll say about this fight, I have this like not even hypothetical. I think it's a legit heavyweight knockout power gauntlet. And we got our guy Curtis Blaydes at the top, we got Francis Ngannou. Doesn't pass that test twice, does not pass the test. Below that, Derek Lewis does not pass that test. Below that, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, who he beat in his last fight at UFC 266. Below that, Walt Harris. He hasn't even faced him, but I'm pretty sure we all know how that fight would go if they ever put it together. Chris Dawkins is one of those guys that doesn't really have that raw power, but he has the speed, the agility, and just the combinations to really get to his opponents and knock them out. I'd be surprised if Curtis Blaydes get caught with anything here. He does a really good job in terms of kind of maintaining his range. It's when he crashes forward going for his wrestling and his takedowns that cause those knockouts to happen. Exactly. That uppercut. I'm still getting nightmares playing that Blaydes inside the distance and getting fucked up by Derek Lewis.
Oh my God.
But I think he passed this one. I don't think he has much to worry about when he's closing the distance here. He should do a good job in terms of playing that range game, close the distance, pushes up against the cage, drag it to the ground, and just put this guy through the ringer. So yeah, give me Blaydes inside the distance. The money line is more than appropriate as well.
Yeah, ultimately, I mean, you see that size advantage. I mean, Blaydes, he's going to have an inch of height, 4 inches of reach. I mean, he's a big dude compared to Dawkins.
Heavyweight. He is a huge heavyweight, and it blows my mind that he has that wrestling ability as well, right? If only he had a little bit better, chin. But then again, if anybody runs into an uppercut from Derek Lewis or any type of punch from Francis Ngannou, more than likely they're going out. But this guy's legit.
The interesting thing with those Francis Ngannou knockouts, and it's something that TB pointed out to me, and I think we covered it at some point as well in past shows, is that those Jorginho, the Ngannou knockouts, those were not like he was dead asleep like the way he did JDS or whatever. It wasn't the same way. Like the first one was like a medical stoppage, and the second one he was just kind of rocked against the fence. So those lines, once again, FanDuel has it minus 135 for Blaydes by finish. DraftKings has it minus 125 for us US based. Anybody US based? I know you're out in the six there with Drizzy. So that's awesome.
We're supposed to be getting FanDuel next month, actually. So
I'll
definitely be hopping on FanDuel as well.
Love that. Yeah, we love our FanDuel, our DraftKings, and ultimately I think I might just have Curtis Blaydes. I know the line has started to get away here at minus 400, but we love throwing together a little parlay here. So I'll have another leg to throw onto it. It's not going to be my best bet of the day just because we did lose a lot of that line value, but I feel like I need at least a little action on the main event with Curtis Blaydes here. So as far as it goes, I mean, it's a little chalky at this point, but we're just going to play it. But that brings us down to our next fight here. We have Joanne Wood versus Alexa Grasso. As we pull up the stats here, I mean, you're going to see Alexa Grasso much younger, but she does give up a little height, but she makes up for it in the reach. Also, I really like Alexa Grasso's boxing game when she gets into the pocket, also her ability to keep the distance and really land her counter shots. Joanne Wood, if she wants a chance here, I mean, we were going back and forth with Schwan Humes on Twitter and really talking about, that Joanne Wood game plan because, she's got to come out aggressive and throwing in volume. Because if you want to keep Alexa Grasso off of her game, you're going to need to hurt her or at least put some real pressure on her so that you see her gas out in the later rounds. If you're letting Alexa Grasso dictate the pace and the distance, I really don't think this is going to go Joanne Wood's way. And ultimately, I don't think the wrestling is going to be in her back pocket either. I think Alexa Grasso has really made some improvements in that area. You've seen her throw up 4 submissions. All those are coming in her last few fights where she's really displayed, an improved ability there. So ultimately, we got the line. Alexa Grasso is shot all the way out. It opened up in like the minus 170 range or so, and now we got It went all the way out. Sorry, as I pull it up here. We got Joanne Wood at +190 and Alexa Grasso is -235. I'm still leaning the Grasso side, even with all the line movement. Where are you at, Guru?
Yeah, I mean, this was a fight that when it first got announced, I was on Grasso, and then as we got closer and the line continued to creep, I certainly played devil's advocate a lot, really hard, especially with you. As you know, I pushed really hard because as we look at these stats for anybody watching live right now, these beautiful stats for anybody that can see them, I was really surprised in terms of, to see a lot of the striking numbers in Joanne Wood's favor. The strikes landed per minute, the distance strikes landed per minute. The accuracy, the clinch accuracy, knockdown. She's got the power advantage by a lot. Against the technically, she should be the bigger fighter against Grasso, who is a 115er, right? And then the other interesting part I saw was that, of course, Grasso was really the boxer, right? Wood, not really known for her grappling or being too great at it per se, but we look at these stats and you see her have some propensity to use the ground at all. If she takes down Grasso or has Grasso maybe concerned to maybe she's not as active and then could lose on the scorecards, but that was like kind of where I was trying to play devil's advocate. But as you battled back with me and kind of put so eloquently, she showed such great takedown defense against Esparza, right? Really fighting hard in those different positions there. And, beat Macy Barber, destroyed Jian Kim, even though she got touched up at the end of that third, and I didn't really enjoy that. I think that she should be able to beat, like you said, Joanne Wood. The line seems appropriate. Manpreet, you seeing anything different?
I have one quick question before I jump into this Joanne Wood breakdown. Is my man TB sipping on coffee at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time right now?
No, it's just a cup of water, but I did have some espresso back at like 6 o'clock. We had to get that party jumping,
I did have a Red Bull as well. 6 o'clock.
I was wondering, I'm like, you guys got a long night ahead? What the hell's going on? You guys on some crazy owl time or something?
Oh
like
my
that?
goodness!
Jesus.
Yeah, I do work the restaurant business, so it is. So I am up, later in the day. Get home a little later. That's why we have a later show. But,
and I have a co-host in the restaurant business, so I stay late for the shows. And
I love it. Yeah, no, let me get back to the Joanne Wood breakdown here. I'm on the Guru side here a little bit. Like I like the numbers that I'm seeing from Joanne Wood, right? I don't necessarily think that she's going to go out there and try to grapple either. I don't think that that's a conversation that really needs to be had in this type of matchup. I think it could look similar to Grasso versus Jiyoon Kim, where we're just getting pretty much a kickboxing matchup for 15 minutes. And if that's the case, I get it. Alexa Grasso is the much better striker. I've bet on her plenty of times in the past. I took her against Macy Barber. I think she's a great striker. I think she has tremendous talent and potential. But if it's a 15-minute kickboxing fight, you see the numbers in front of you right there. 6.5 or 6.64 strikes landed per minute by Joanne Wood. This girl is all output all the time, right? If she goes out there and just puts up numbers, even if she's the one getting dinged more often than not, if the judges are seeing her go out there and throw more strikes, it could look quite greasy once we get to the judges' scorecards. And you want to be holding a -230 ticket on Alexa Grasso? Probably not. I like her. Trust me. I considered putting her into a parlay earlier this week. And then I'm just like hitting myself in the head. I'm like, dude, you're going to be killing yourself once we get to the judges' scorecards. And Joanne Wood has her, beat by like 40 strikes or something like that. It's all going to come down to whether Alexa Grasso lands the more significant strikes and if the judges actually take notice of it, because she has a crisper boxing. She's going to be able to get her combinations off, but how many times is she going to hit her cleanly enough that Joanne Wood's head just pops back? And we see that. Because if we don't, and Joanne Wood is out there just kicking her from the outside and just, throwing her jab every so often, the numbers are going to be close. It's going to be a close fight. Do we see Alexa Grasso going out there and trying to grapple? Is that a path to victory she's going to look to take? Probably not. Historically speaking, that's not how she fights. She likes to go out there and she likes to strike. Yeah. So I would hope, if you are backing Alexa Grasso, that she does try to engage in the wrestling and she does try to take Joanne Wood to the ground, because you got to make it look crisp and clean to the judges. Otherwise, Joanne Wood always finds a way to make fights close. Look at how many split decisions she has on her record. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if this goes to a split decision either. So I've just been fumbling with myself right now all week, trying to figure out whether I'm going to take the plus money on Joanne Wood, whether even it's a half unit shot, maybe even take her decision prop, which what's that number right now? Plus 300, plus 400 by her with her by decision. Take a half unit shot, take a 0.25 unit shot, and who knows, the dice might roll in your favor with how much output she throws out there. But the pick is Alexa Grasso, but it's too close.
I wonder, and listen, we're a show that loves it. We kind of coined the phrase here, fade the narrative. I wonder what the narrative is, what the line value bake of the narrative is, all that. And then one of the things that, continue to, that Locke said that kind of like continue to stoke my insecurities about this fight is that when you look at our quantified stats, right, not just the strikes landed per minute, but the distance strikes landed per minute, right at distance, the distance landed. What's the phrasing? Distance landed
at minute at distance. So
yeah,
I do see what
anyway,
you're
my
saying,
point
but
my point was is that stat, the margin gets even wider than the strikes landed per minute. So if it's just standing, if it's just 15 minutes of kickboxing, like Locke said, that ratio of strikes landed by Joanne Wood is even wider now. And that makes me nervous.
I subscribe to this, like MMA by the Numbers also has an awesome show and puts out some great stats. One of the things that he's really harped on is the amount of leg kicks that Joanne Wood throws kind of scrambles up those numbers a little bit. And they're not necessarily the most powerful, like make your opponent really like Chukagian fight, maybe you could see a little bit more damage accrued there than other Joanne Wood fights. Exactly. So it was like, exactly. So you see the damage a little bit more, but like you don't see Joanne Wood, like she throws more of those like push kick or like even like those lighter oblique kicks where it's like she doesn't really make the firmest contact on those while she is scoring points. When Grasso counters with a 1-2 or comes in with the cross, I mean, you saw her knocking back Macy Barber said. That's where I just think the visual optics of this fight, I think Joanne Wood has lost a step. I do think, seeing the way that she got dropped against Tyler Santos, that's not necessarily something we really saw from her too much in the past. And, seeing the way that Jennifer Maia really dominated her physically as well. I know Grasso's not as big a flyweight, but she's really filled out since moving up. In the flyweight division here. So ultimately, I do have Alexa Grasso in a parlay. It is something. It's not a best bet of the night type of money, but a couple units here. I mean, for me that means $50. So if you guys are looking to follow
that MMA, right? That's an officially. Is that up there?
Yeah. So
that is up there.
That's the first leg of one of our, not our play of the week, but just something that we felt like, at least on the visual optics, I just see the judges giving more emphasis to the type of strikes that Grasso will land. But I definitely see Manpreet's point, and it is something that does have me thinking a little bit. I just think that time has started to pass Joanne Wood by. Could
that be narrative? But could that be narrative? Listen, 36
totally
is not
could.
young, especially in the.
It totally could be.
All right, we're gonna move on. We talked about
last thing I want to say about the fight. I swear she was supposed to hang it up, right? Wasn't she supposed to go out there and actually like she got married last year to John Wood, the coach? And I thought the Tyler Santos fight was going to be her last fight. Like, if I'm not mistaken, that fight happened weeks from her actual wedding. So why she even took that fight to begin with is weird to me. But I thought
money, right? You make a little quick check. You
gotta pay for the wedding somehow.
It was also weird hearing like, "Okay, honey, you're doing great, honey," like from the corner during the last fight because it was like pandemic status. I was like, okay, maybe he lost a little bit of his coaching edge too here.
Possibly.
I thought that
must be really difficult to coach your wife. That must be really difficult.
Probably.
Yeah. I'll leave that at a no comment. It's not something I'm looking to find out. So. We got but that brings us to one of our featured events on the main card here. We got Matt the Immortal Brown versus Brian Bam Bam Barberina. This one's gonna be a good fight. I see this one being a straight out brawl, and if not, it's probably Matt Brown shooting for the takedowns. At least given their overall career statistics and what's been kind of happening recently for Matt Brown. If this gets ugly on the feet, I could definitely see him shooting on someone like Barberina, who hasn't really shown much resistance in that area, where his stand-up game is like decent. But listen, man, I mean, this fight opened, you had Matt Brown as a small underdog opening up at like a plus 105 on our DraftKings book. But now, I mean, he's moved to like a minus 105 here. You see a little bit of money coming in, and it's now up to minus 110 since I opened it last. So we got an even line here. Matt Brown versus Brian Barberina. You see that the strike landed per minute here? I mean, Barberina is going to bring the pace. Can Matt Brown bring the power? Guru, what are you seeing here, man?
I'm seeing two old guys fighting. I mean, but you know what's interesting? Brian Barberina at 32 is not that old. He's just kind of old in fight years. He's taken weird damage, had some crazy injuries outside the octagon, right? So he just kind of feels older than he actually is, which could be baked into some narrative here. Who knows? But I like Brian. I don't like Brian Barberina here. I like Matt Brown here. He's the hometown guy. He should be getting it done. The reason why everybody picked Matt Brown, I guess me included, over Carlos Condit was because we expected him to use some of the grappling. And then for whatever reason, because he wanted to put on a show and because, whatever, it's just that kind of fight, they old man backyard barbecue brawled for 15 minutes. And he ended up losing that. Then he comes out versus Diego Lima. I picked Lima. Oh, Lima hasn't been KO'd in a while. He should win a decision. Knocks him out off his feet. Didn't he retire? No, did he retire?
He did retire. Yeah,
he retired. Like he knocked his ass into retirement. So that makes me think maybe Matt Brown will fall in love with his hands here against Brian Barberina. Wouldn't be the smartest decision because Brian Barberina's takedown defense is terrible, an abysmal 58% for his career. Truly, truly terrible. I was trying to watch the Brian Barberina Darren Weeks fight. It was like watching paint dry. I love fights. It was so difficult to watch that fight. I know I'm gonna have to watch it again in literally 2 weeks when I watch Ian Gary when he's gonna fight Darren Weeks. I think he's probably just gonna KO him, right? Like that's ridiculous. That's like a walking KO. Anyway, this fight, I like Matt Brown here. I really liked him at the plus money stab, especially at home. That money is long gone now. Pick him. I'm not racing to the window to bet it, but Matt Brown should get it done. I don't know. I don't really even have an edge in terms of a finish or not. Any what do you think, Locke? Any plays playing out to you?
So normally when I do my breakdowns and I do my research and all that stuff, I block out all the noise. Like I don't look at Twitter, I don't look at my Discord, I don't, I want no influence whatsoever. I want to run the tape, I want to do my research, I want to do my due diligence, make my predictions, make my breakdowns, and then see what everybody else is saying. And the interesting thing I found out about this card is a lot of people are believing in Matt Brown's wrestling for some reason. I tried to do that too, just like you, Guru, against Carlos Condit, and he went an abysmal 1 of 6 on takedowns. Where are we thinking that this Matt Brown wrestling is coming from? We're talking about 1 of 6 on takedowns against Carlos Condit, who boasts a 38% takedown defense rate. Just because he got taken down multiple times in his last 3 fights against guys that are primarily grapplers, Anthony Ivy, who couldn't get anything going on the ground. I believe, who was the one after that? Jason Witt. Yep. After that, Jason Witt's a legit wrestler. That's one of his strong suits. He's big. He can actually wrestle. And then the last fight against Darren Weeks, another wrestler. Matt Brown ain't no wrestler. Matt Brown's a fucking brawler. So I don't understand where this narrative that he's going to go out there and try to take him down time and time again. And even if he does, Carlos Condit is one of the easier guys to hold down. He couldn't even hold him down. You tell me he's going to hold down Brian Barberina, who I believe is going to be able to work back to his feet. I don't think the top control of Matt Brown is that good. But rather than taking a side here, I'm taking violence. I'm taking minus 135 on the violence line here. Fight doesn't go to decision. Couple stats here for you guys. I know you guys like some stats. Yes, 49 out of 65 fights have finished inside the distance combined between these two guys. That's 75%. The line around minus 135 indicates that it finishes 57% of the time. We're getting a nice little bump there in terms of value, in terms of the difference that we're getting between that, right? Matt Brown, I know this is more so like a dumb kind of statistic, but Matt Brown has fought in Ohio 9 times. None of those fights have ever gone to a decision. Might be a little bit of a narrative that we can look into here.
Listen, those dumb stats are the most important ones. The ones that have no correlation and mean nothing. They've scored 6 points every time they start the third quarter, and they do that in the first 3 minutes. They win the game. Sure, let's go, baby.
Yeah.
So
The last time he fought in Ohio is a long time ago. 8 years ago, he headlined against Eric Silva. Great fight.
Eric Silva.
That was way back in the day, early headliner way back then. But yeah, no, I think that narrative actually holds up here. I think we're going to get a war between these two guys. We know Brian Barberina is more than likely going to oblige with a fist fight and a firefight, and exactly that's what I think we're going to get. I'm actually leaning on the Brian Barberina side. I think his durability is a little bit more reliable in a sense. He got rocked a couple times against Jason Witt. I'm sure he'll get rocked here against Matt Brown, but I think he'll eventually get him out of there. And last thing I'll say about this matchup, most of the fights that you look at Brian Barberina and his statistics, the guy likes digging to the body at least 30% of the time. It wasn't that long ago that Matt Brown was known as a guy that if you just blew onto his stomach, the guy's going to fall and fold over. I wouldn't be surprised if Brian Barberina starts to dig to the body and tries to get him out of there that way. But I like Barberina, but rather than take a side, I'm just going to go fight doesn't go to decision. I got in at -135.
I totally had that start on my notes too, and I forgot to say that. That's like that's quintessential Matt Brown. He's soft to the body. That's like, he's known for that. He's always had a soft body. He's soft to the body. It's yeah, very, very true. One thing that does make me scared on that is just these guys, they'll come out here if they have a little too much respect for each other. We see these guys set a sparring pace, and this could be one of those ones where they want,
bro. Once Matt Brown cracks him, I think Brian's going to be like, let's fucking go. And I think they're just going to go for it. And then they get the roar of the crowd and all that shit. I think they're just going to be goaded into a crazy fight.
To your point, that's exactly what the Jason Witt Barberina fight was. That third round was fucking insane. I don't know how somebody wasn't finished there. So yeah, I asked Kraus about that. I'm like, is that probably one of the craziest cornering you've ever done? Is that like that third round? He goes, I don't think anything will ever come close to that, considering how back and forth it was. It was one of the craziest things he's ever experienced.
That seriously was absolutely unreal. Especially, I believe we were close to like parlaying Barberina big time that week and ended up just staying off the fight entirely. It was one of those things. I mean, maybe the accumulation is more so the game plan of Barberina than the one punch impact at this point. But yeah, I mean, I do think we see some fireworks here too. I don't really have the biggest bet on this fight, but we got plenty more coming. We got another big fight here. We got Askar Askarov versus Kai Kara France. I mean, this one, if they didn't already book the quadrilogy, this would be like a title eliminator type of deal. Or maybe now the winner of this one takes on Pantoja.
Well, I was thinking about that. Askarov already beat Pantoja like just before. So why would he?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Again? Oh, geez.
I think this still is the title eliminator. I just think they have to wait.
It's like Askarov doesn't mind waiting either, right? Like his last fight was quite a while ago. So if he wins this fight, I'm sure he's stamped himself a title shot.
Wow. Yeah. And I mean, the line, they really have it like we're definitely going to see Askar Askarov, moving along, getting this title shot. I mean, ultimately, is it appropriate? We got Askar Askarov now at -380 and Kai Kara France at +290. I mean, the KO potential has certainly been live for Kai Kara France recently, and seeing Askar Askarov kind of gas out after extended grappling exchanges with Tim Elliott, or, kind of get stuck in some interesting positions with Pantoja himself at points, I do think that there's been moments where you can kind of question Askar Askarov overall. And Kai Kara France is definitely one of those dangerous guys. I find myself not rushing to play Askar Askarov here, but this would be like the test of all tests in my mind, because at least the initial takedown defense of Kai Kara France is legit. But Askarov is a chain wrestler, and he has shown the cardio in the wrestling. It's just not when guys have really had like an answer to come back, and you see his pace really slowed down. And that's where we saw Kara France get the knockout at the end of the first round against Bontarine. Can Kai Kara France survive against a step up in the grappling and the wrestling in Askar Askarov? I do think that there's a good reason to make Kai Kara France a big underdog. It's just as it gets further and further away, I'm not sure. I feel so comfortable in like a parlay spot here. Guru, where are you leaning?
I just, after watching the tape on Askar, I was just so impressed with the grappling exchanges in that Pantoja fight. It's just so fucking impressive, and honestly, the commentary team is drooling over it too. He's just beats everybody to every position in the wrestling exchange. He makes you work from every single angle for weighing on you, dragging on you, and he's no slouch on the feet either. Like, he doesn't necessarily have great power, but he has an unbelievable like array of kicking attacks that he can throw at you, and has decent technical boxing. And one thing I haven't necessarily loved, which you could say with anybody, it's a damn fight. He gets hit a little too much, right? He's getting hit in the head a little too much. But what he does with that is what's most important. He then knows to, okay, you tag me, let me throw a couple back your way, and I'm gonna put you on your ass in 30 seconds here. And that's what he does. I haven't seen Kai Kara France face somebody with this level of grappling, or honestly at this level, period. I mean, you want to say Brandon Moreno, I guess, but nobody really thought he was at that level at the time. Brandon Moreno has made such a massive climb since then. The Brandon Royval fight, Brandon Royval has has some holes there. Rodrigo Bontarine, right? He grappled the fuck out of him for 4 minutes and 50 seconds, 4 minutes and 30 seconds, until he got up, got tired, and then got slept onto his face. So other than crazy weight cut issues for Askar Askarov, which we've actually seen, so it's kind of like, got to chill here, especially at these lighter weight classes with 4-ounce gloves. Unless Kai Kara France gets this crazy knockout, which he's not, even though his name is Don't Blink, it's not really what he doesn't have this unbelievable power. He's got power in that right, but just not like even with the Cody Garbrandt matchup, Cody Garbrandt had the power advantage. Even still, I think we could still say that despite Cody getting knocked out. So I like Askar here. Line is honestly probably appropriate, but still chalky, not right. This card is a tale of two cards. It's either the line is juiced to the tits or we're playing really, really close lines. So, Manpreet, you want to lead us in a direction here, pal?
You guys nailed it pretty much with this fight. But I'm again, I feel like I'm siding with Guru more often than not when we're doing these fucking breakdowns. But I think the line is appropriate. I got in at minus 330. He's a part of my locker that I play because I do feel quite confident in him in the spot. I think you also nailed it on the head in regards to his knockout power. Might be a little bit over exaggerated right now due to the recency bias, right? Obviously goes out there and knocks out Cody Garbrandt. Anybody's knocking out Cody Garbrandt at this point in time. The fight before that, Rogerio Bontarine caught him at a great time, right? The guy was just grappling, holding him on his back for 4.5 minutes. And I'm not sure if you guys have ever grappled or anything like that, but you need like a second or two to kind of just get your breath back about you. And Kai did a really good job in terms of not letting him off the chain there and followed up and got that knockout there. But before that, it was 10 fights prior that he got his last knockout. Like, it took 10 fights for him to finally get that next knockout, which I think, a lot of people are kind of overlooking in this spot. But man, Askarov sold me in the Joseph Benavidez fight, because Benavidez, one of the greatest scramblers of all time, Askarov was beating him to every single fucking position. And I was just mystified. I was on Benavidez a decent amount there, not too much, like he wasn't a locker than I play or anything, just because I obviously acknowledge, he could be coming off a little bit of a decline, all those Davison Figueiredo fights, not to mention he's on the tail end of his career. That ended up being his last fight, if I'm not mistaken. But just seeing him beat him in those spots left me very, very impressed. And his cardio looked solid in that fight, right? It's very weird that his cardio looks kind of off in certain fights, and then the other fights looks amazing. And he was grappling hard for the majority of that Benavidez fight. Now you're getting a guy in Kai Kara France who's roughly the same size as Joseph Benavidez outside of the reach. And I think that we can get the same type of performance from Askarov here, if not more convincing, with him using his cage wrestling, his chain wrestling, all that stuff, putting it together, dragging him to the ground, maybe finding a submission or a finish from on top. But I thought at minus 330 was a damn good spot to go out there and parlay with another spot that we'll talk about later on this card. But I think Askarov's the truth. I think he fights for the belt by the end of the year. And if it's Moreno with the title, I think Moreno actually beats him, right? If you guys remember his first fight, that went to a draw. Yeah. I had a ticket on Askarov that night, and I was lucky that it came away with the draw, because I thought Moreno won that fight hands down, no doubt about it. I thought the judges on that fight were very wonky, but Moreno has this weird fucking style that he's able to exploit a lot of these guys. He did it against Kai Kara France, beat him in a striking battle. Not a lot of people believed he could do that, and then he goes out there and should have beaten Askarov in a very close fight as well. But in this fight in particular, I think Askarov rose. I think Kai Kara-France goes back to being who he is, a guy that will knock out a couple guys every now and then, maybe get a hometown decision like he did against Hali and Paiva. Other than that, I don't think he's anything special.
Yeah, I could totally see myself being in one of those spots where I come around after weigh-ins and face-offs and like
When
Guru
I
talk
come
me.
around.
I can always get talked into something as the week goes on, but
I kind of like Askarov and over 1.5. Get that minus 250. So we kind of shave off a little bit of that juice on the money line, and then we can maybe parlay that to something.
Is that a FanDuel line that you guys got?
DraftKings. That's one of our DraftKings favorites.
God damn it. That I like those lines, man. The overs or the under on a specific fighter. Damn good lines.
That is definitely a favorite of the show. We love doing those little parlays there.
And you know, that honestly makes me think the other way too. What would it be? It's probably dumb. It was dumb. Actually, that's not even terrible either. Askarov round 3 or decision, FanDuel minus 150.
Yes, I think
because then at that point you might as well play the decision at minus 110 or whatever.
Yeah.
But then it's like, why are you doing that? And then it's like,
I mean, we saw the positions that Bontarine put Kara-France in, and that's one of those things that really makes me pause because we saw him kind of fight and survive, but it's not great when you're praising someone for their survivability.
Wait a minute. You can't tell me that you're worried about the Askarov money line, but then tell me you're worried he's going to submit him in a minute in a round and a half. Which one is it?
No, well, listen, I'm telling you that there's a few distinct ways that this fight can play out. So that's why I said, I might be open to coming around on it. It's just Askarov, there's been those moments where I've like questioned him, but at the same time, like, is Kara-France really the guy to stop like the chain wrestling attempts and really give him trouble overall? I mean, Askarov should be the bigger guy. I definitely see where you guys are going here. And like I said, I've been talked into some stuff before, so I could definitely see myself coming around.
Askarov has finished literally every fight before the UFC. So the fact that he hasn't gotten a finish inside the UFC, maybe I don't like being that guy. I'm due for a win. Maybe he's due for a finish here. Who knows?
I was thinking in my head as you guys were breaking it down, it could be analogous to like the Makhachev type of deal. Like he was decision. Then all of a sudden, I mean, he starts finishing these guys. And Kara-France, like as we keep talking about it here, like he's gotten in these bad grappling positions before. Askarov, he's slick like that to where Pantoja, who subs Royval like that, Pantoja puts everyone in a bad position. I mean, Askarov was willing to go dive into his wrestling almost as a thing of pride. So yeah, like I said, I think I might be coming around here, guys.
For sure. No, that's so funny.
But so our next fight here.
My question was, what happens when an immovable force meets an unstoppable force meets an immovable object, right? What happens when you try to choke one that does not have a neck? What happens?
We're about to find out because we got Ilir, the quote-unquote sledgehammer Latifi. We call him the Toad. And then we got Alexei Oleinik, the boa constrictor. Listen, I mean, there's multiple different options for a submission without specifically targeting a choke, guys. I mean, especially the Ezekiel. I mean, is that not something that can be pulled off, just by kind of using pressure and positioning? I mean, Alexei, we've seen him scramble from all these different positions. Ilir Latifi, when the line first opened and we saw him as an underdog, it was like, oh my goodness, like, he should be able to just beat Oleinik here. And I go in and I start watching the tape, and it's like lay and pray city. Latifi doesn't really do much as far as activity on the ground, and that goes for whether it's Derek Lewis, whether it's Ten or Bozer. He had a lot more earlier in his career at lower weight classes as far as really dishing out a little bit of damage. But I mean, I don't really see the guy these days that he only has 1 ground strike per minute of control time. I mean. And he's not someone that is actively hunting for submissions. He only has 3 submission attempts in his 14-fight UFC career. So the question is, can he successfully pull off a Sergey Spivak game plan and just kind of sit on top with pressure and keep Oleinik from reversing him? Like, I don't think, at least at this current line, that I feel comfortable laying it on a guy like Ilir Latifi to follow through. I mean, it's minus 200 Latifi, plus 170 Oleinik. I mean, I could see this fight just end up going to like a greasy decision here, but I mean, I don't really have a super confident play. Guru, do you have anything you're loving here?
I'm so sorry. I can't stop thinking about the last fight. He said Askarov. He has so many submissions. Askarov by submission plus 360 is way too juicy.
Ooh.
That's way too juicy. He's
Oh.
got 7 wins by sub. It's his most likely path. We love to fade the narrative. He needs a finish. We just saw it's too much. It's too much. Anyway, so this fight is a slop fest, man. The sledgehammer without the sledge. Like, I don't even know what does he do? He doesn't throw strikes. He doesn't submit anybody. Like 5-5-5 and 15 wins, right? 5 decisions, 5 submissions, 5 knockouts. I'd like to see him throw some damn strikes and knock out Oleinik, but Oleinik throws everything he's got with his 44-year-old might into his strikes because he doesn't care. He doesn't care because he wants to fall on top of you and go to the ground anyway. And like you just so eloquently put, is he going to Sergey Spivak it? Is he going to lay on top of him? Sergey Spivak had a tough time doing that. He was bleeding. It was a mess, that fight. That fight was a disaster. Ilir Latifi gasses out walking into the octagon. He's gonna be able to grapple with the boa constrictor for 15 minutes. I like Latifi. I was all over Latifi when it dropped at like minus 120, minus 130. I'm like, okay, let's do some tape. Let's see where it's at. What are we, minus 180? Now get the fuck
minus 200.
I'm not even going to grandma's couch cushions for this one. No, thank you. Maybe Manpreet can convince me into something, but
Nah, I ain't convinced you on shit. I want nothing to do with this fight. The only thing, like, I'm thinking we're gonna get Oleinik, like you guys were talking about. He likes to kind of just wait for it and throw heavy strikes and hope that he can either drop his opponent or get close enough to eventually fall on top of them, whether it's with the takedown or just something sloppy as hell. But I think it could potentially get him knocked out here with, you know, how reckless he is kind of moving forward. Now it comes down to whether Ilir will willingly try to grapple or clinch with him, or if he's going to look to try to actually knock him out with the strike coming on as a counter to that blitz forward from Oleinik. Under 1.5 might be cheeky at plus 140, right? A lot of people are expecting this to be a clinch fest, grapple fest, but there's always that one fight where we're expecting that, and then just out of nowhere we get that crazy finish. And both of these guys are capable of finishes. I'm leaning on the Latifi side, Latifi knockout, but I don't know, man. Other than the other under 1.5, I really want nothing to do with this fight.
Can I ask this? On FanDuel, now Ilir Latifi's up to minus 215.
Good Lord.
At what point do we start thinking a dog shot on Oleinik at plus 172? Or like, what's Oleinik by? Oleinik by sub is plus 340.
Yeah, I
like,
mean,
that's the only way he's winning the fight. Do we go to Grandma's couch cushions for that?
I mean, I was actually kind of looking at the Alexei Oleinik decision at plus 800. He triples up on the strikes. You saw in the Verdum fight a guy that was willing to get into the grappling and other exchanges. Like, Oleinik outlanded Verdum from distance, and 2, he held his own in extended grappling and wrestling. I mean, I don't love it per se, but if there was anything I was gonna, go into, some couch cushions for, that would be like my type of idea, just from like an overall volume perspective. Also, Oleinik has a 7-inch reach advantage and a 4-inch height advantage. That plays out huge here as far as, I know he rushes forward and loves doing that stuff, but he might be the guy just landing more volume. And Latifi has shown to like hold up overall ever since he moved up to heavyweight. His chin has definitely seen a lot better times holding up to the big boys up there. But yeah, I mean, Oleinik is definitely the side I'm leaning to. I really don't have anything crazy I'm throwing down for this fight. So please, go spare.
Personally, I got Latifi around 65%, which is what minus 185 or so. So minus 215, I think, is getting a little bit out there. But again, this is going to be a car crash of a fight, either a long, drawn out car crash or a quick one. And I don't want to be caught on either side of this one, honestly.
Have we done any like IG capping on this fight? As I go to look at,
I think Latifi was at Extreme Couture.
Yeah, I see him right now. I see at least a picture from February. He's with
he's not quite active on there. Like I tried looking at it too. Where was he in February? Sorry,
February. No, of course, end of February. He was with Corey Anderson, fellow card mate Dennis Tululin. Tululin, Magomed Ankalaev in this nice little picture here.
Is that Extreme?
It probably is, yeah.
Yeah,
it probably is. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's the thing about guys showing up at Extreme, though. It's because it's in Vegas, right? You got the
yeah.
PI, and then
Mm.
you got the Extreme Couture, where you can go spar and have fucking 85% of the room be UFC guys. So you never know if it's really that their hometown or their home spot now, or if they're just passing by.
It's true. It seems to be a little bit of a revolving door there. Like I guess you actually know Eric a little kind of decently well. He seems to let some people he seems to let some people like kind of come into his facility and use it, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's all based on where they're based, right? They're in Las
Mhm.
Vegas, they're in the Mecca, they're in the hub of MMA pretty much. So I'm sure they see a ton of it. There's so many guys that come through that gym and either use it for a couple months or they just come in for a quick sparring session and then just dip out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that. This
Well,
fight's really interesting. This one is like super duper under the radar, right? Like this is the hardcore's like wet dream. Like, oh, let's get to this one. So let's get to it.
yeah, Mark Giacchesi versus the Bone Crusher versus Slavaklaus, Vyacheslav Borshev. I mean, I know that there's a
Nailed it.
lot of reasons to try to fade Vyacheslav. I mean, we were looking into him in his first fight. There's definitely takedown defense deficiencies, but I was actually kind of impressed with some of the technical aptitude that Borshev at least shows getting back to his feet and fighting back to his preferred range, the boxing, the kickboxing. But I don't love how low he keeps his hands, or when he goes into his full guard and is like, all right, I'm just going to eat shots, eat shots. It's like the Peter Young game plan. And like, I don't love it overall, especially, just given how much volume we've seen him eat at points, even on the regional scene. We see him get rocked, get in trouble here or there. Mark Giacchesi definitely brings in some power. He's got the striking credentials, but not something he's really like shown up at, like statistically. Even you see like he's only at 3 landed per minute, and you go to distance and it's only 4 landed per minute. Like as far as that goes, it's tough. And if you want to look for him to exploit, the hole that we see in Borshev's game, yeah, I mean the takedowns, he does have 2 per 15 minutes. It's at 36%. That is pretty solid. It's 16 out of 45 for his career. So out of 10 fights, I mean, he is shooting at a really decent rate. I just don't think that his overall control is going to be enough here if that's his true game plan and path. And if he isn't able to just control, I think his gas tank is going to show for it. And Jay Casey, it's not like he's a high volume guy from distance. He's looking to land that big blow. That's something that really did him in the Fiziev fight. So, I mean, Borshev, it's minus 150 Slavaklaus versus plus 130 Bone Crusher. As this line keeps on closing up, I know G. Casey is like the real favorite dog play of the week out here.
Yeah.
I would lean towards, just saying that this fight is going to end inside the distance, the under 2.5 at minus 150, or,
That's a good
fight
line.
to end inside the distance isn't so bad either. But I do lean towards the Slava side. It's minus 200 inside not to go the distance.
Okay. Yeah, because you got under 2.5 minus 172 here on FanDuel. I think you make really interesting points about the fight. Man, Mark Casey's somebody that we had at least I did have a big play on him against Rafael Alves. Really expected him to take it to it, and we kind of used that Fiziev fight as like a litmus test. Oh, look how good his striking is. Look how well he matched up against such a savage and Fiziev. And he came out, got kicked in the dick right away. Kind of maybe took out. I've never been in like a fight like that. I have to imagine such a huge adrenaline dump. That must be terrible. And then he gets kneed in the face and submitted and immediately taps. It was truly a terrible performance for him. Casey's never been KO'd, but he got hit with that flying knee, and like that, it was like he was rocked, bro. Like he was rocked really, really hard, and then again fell right into that guillotine, which is Alves's favorite fucking thing to do. So he nailed that right away. We knew that Alves would be live in that first round, and that's exactly what he stole. Like you said again so eloquently, Slavaklaus's grappling holes are there. It's something we're going to look to fade once he finally faces a really good blanket style wrestler. Casey's not that guy. He's a fairly well-rounded MMA fighter. Terrible to poo-poo somebody for being well-rounded, right? But the thing is like he's good, not great in all these areas, and that's maybe the problem here. Whereas Borshev is an expert at the striking. He's reached such a high level, which is why I probably take a small stab on Slava Claus round 1 or 2 plus 135. I think he gets the finish early. Other than that, I mean, right? I think if it enters the third, it's anybody's game, right? So, what do you think there, Locke?
It's interesting how quickly this fight was actually put together, right? He fought January 15th against Dakota Bush. The guy that I run the tape index with, shout out to my guy Newsome from MMA Play 365. Well, I almost choked and died there. One sec. He manages Mark Diakese with HD Fight Management.
Oh, wow.
And he hit me up on, I have the text message. He hit me up January 27th. So 12 days after Vyacheslav fought, he hits me up 12 days later and says, hey, they offered the fight to Mark Diakese. Can you send me the Vyacheslav tape index so we can check this guy out before we accept the fight? They obviously checked out the tape. They accepted the fight. But the main point being that this fight came together pretty quickly, right? Normally guys get about 3 months of training time in a training camp to prepare for somebody. But Diakese's getting what, like a month and a half, just about 2 full months of time to actually train for this guy. It's interesting because Vyacheslav is like the new chick on the block, right? He's Slava Claus. He has a great nickname and his fighting style is great. His body shots have been amazing, obviously, right? But Casey's been in there with some absolute killers. And I think that that's something that can't be overlooked here. It's not like he's going to go in there intimidated by the new kid on the block. He's going to go out there and assert what his game plan is. And I'm interested to know if he's actually going to go back to his calf kicking game, which is very successful for him during that run up until he fought Rafael Fiziev. His dispatching of these guys with the calf kicks and then letting his strikes go. He's always going to, more than likely, he's always going to have the speed advantage against his opponents. And then he always has that power too, which can obviously creep up on some guys and he can catch them there. But I like his ability to mix in the takedowns as well. That's something that we've been seeing in the latter part of his career. The fact that he was able to get Lando Venata down and kind of grind him out in that third round, that's a difficult task, right? Like, if you guys remember taping Mike Grundy when he fought Lando Venata, he went, what, 3 of 20 on takedown attempts on him? Fucking crazy. Venata was more than ready for that and just kept stuffing him, but he couldn't stuff the one from Mark Diakese late in that fight. He couldn't get him off him late in that fight either. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Diakese, fainting for takedowns, changing levels, trying to implement a full MMA game here to put on a guy in Vyacheslav Borshev who, still relatively green, right? Only 1 UFC fight. I get he's the striking coach over there at Team Alpha Male. Sure, they're working on his takedown defense and all that, but I'm interested to see if he's improved his get-up game, right? That's the one thing that's going to be important here. There's guys like Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya who they get taken down, but they immediately work back to their feet, right? I was very impressed with what we saw from Pereira against Bruno Silva, where he did not accept the back at all, was working to get back to his feet right away. That's what we're kind of seeing from Vyacheslav Nysen in his most recent fights, but now he's getting the steps up in competition, and I wouldn't be surprised if Mark can actually hold him down. But even if he doesn't, just the threat of the takedown opens up the rest of his MMA game as well. Vyacheslav could put his combinations together. He could possibly catch him with something as well. But I'm going to trust the more proven guy at the underdog odds. Obviously, the line is getting away from us at this point in time. I think, what is he down to? Plus 130 at this point in time? Like that. Yeah, like it was what, plus 170 early in the week. So all the sharps got in on that nice and early, brought the line down. Even at plus 130, I think it's a decent spot. This could be a possible hype scenario for the Slava Claus side of things. And I want nothing more than for the Slava Claus train to continue to choo on down the road or down the tracks, because I love that guy. His dance, his fucking doing the whole singing the Christmas carols and all that shit. I love it. I love it all. But I think that this is going to be a tough task for him. I'm going to go with Diakese as the prediction. I think he's worth the bet here at plus 130 as well. Personally, I haven't pulled the trigger myself, but I do think he goes out there and gets the dub.
Yeah, I mean, he's honestly, he really could be fighting for his job at this point, right? Lost 5 of his last 7, even though the first 3 are like kind of a murder, again, including Fiziev. Really, that 4, right? Drakkar Klose, good fighter. Dan Hooker, even despite what's going on, Dana White says has a job no matter what. I mean, dude's a gangster. Makes sense to me. I hate people saying that he's washed or like the Bellator memes. It's like, get the fuck out of here, man. Nazarat Hakparas is a very well-rounded, young guy. And like we said, Fiziev, who's a fucking beast and was probably going to be favored and would have beat RDA, in my opinion. So the Alves loss looked bad, but maybe it's kind of fluky. Fade the narrative. Would have liked him plus 170. Yeah, not a fight that I'm honestly, I'm gonna take a little extra libations for this one and just really, really kick back as a fan.
I dig that, yeah, because ultimately, I could see Jay Casey definitely finishing Slava. That's why I lean more on the prop side of this one because I don't trust Slava as a favorite against this big guy. I still lean him for the pick, but it's not something that I'm looking to bet a big side on. But I have seen, like I said, this is definitely the dog spot that's been going around. So, you know, always liable to change as the week goes on here. See some weigh-ins and stuff. But as of right now, not officially on a side here for myself. But we got this next fight coming in, and this is gonna be a bit of a play here if I know myself. We got Neil Magny coming in versus Max Griffin. I mean, this one, it was actually funny. I forget exactly who was tweeting it out, but like when you go to like break down this fight initially, you're like, oh man, Neil Magny, the 25 UFC fights, he's been in there, forever. Max Griffin is 2 years older than Neil Magny. So
Yeah, that surprised me too.
I was like, oh shit, like what? And yeah, you look at the stats, like, yeah, Max Griffin, he is landing a little bit more volume. The overall striking numbers like slightly better as you're looking at, the accuracy and defense, but realistically, I mean, Neil Magny, I mean, he's got a big size advantage, like always. He's got the pace, he's got the cardio, he's got the grappling, and Max Griffin, he's shown us time and time again he's willing to wilt as the fight goes on if it's not at his terms. Neil Magny doesn't necessarily let you fight at your terms, and yeah, I mean, I know once again the line is a little bit gotten away from where it was earlier in the week. Right now, we got Neil Magny at -240 and Max Griffin at +195. I'm going with the Neil Magny side to close out my Grasso parlay. So we played that down at Bet MMA Tips, 2.5 units. Guru, keep explaining away why we did that.
Yeah, listen, man, Neil Magny's a freaking beast. What I love to see is when the stats are fairly like similar or relatively even, and then you can get a major competition edge on one side. It's like, oh, okay, well, they may have even numbers, but he's doing it against much better competition. Jeff Neal, Michael Chiesa, Robbie Lawler, Santiago Ponzinibbio, Carlos Condit,
Tell him.
RDA, Johnny.
Tell him.
I mean, too many names, man. Yeah, like all he's done, man. All Griffin's done, beat the ghost of Carlos Condit, knocked out Kanan Song in what was that card's 5th co-main event. He beat Ramiz Brahimaj, who we know is a one-trick pony at this point. Yeah. If he's not getting a sub with some wrestling and the grappling, it's not coming. The win ain't there for him. So Max Griffin, I'm glad to see him that he kind of really did turn his career around with this 3-fight winning streak, gets himself in a nice named fight here against Neil Magny, but Magny better everywhere, bigger, longer, stronger. We've talked about how when people push you in every phase of every position, how much more difficult that is. Neil Magny is somebody that's going to lay on you in a blanket. Watch that Robbie Lawler fight again, man. He wears on him in the clinch. It's exhausting. He picks him apart from range. It's Robbie fucking Lawler, man. And that was before all that, like, oh, he's washed. Like that was part of that avalanche, man. And I see that avalanche continuing to roll here with Neil Magny. What do you think there? Manpreet, aka MMA Lock of the Night.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up my moniker as well, because that is the lock of the night for me with Neil Magny parlayed with Askar Askarov. I could have taken him straight as well, but I really like the Askarov side as well to kind of make it. I think I got it down to -114 by parlaying those two guys together. Let me just quickly get the number here on Magny. -226 on Magny, -331 on Askarov for -114, 3.5 units. But yeah, you guys nailed it, man. I don't know how much more I can add. I love Neil Magny as a fighter. That guy has won me so much goddamn money in the past when people keep fading him. What was the fight? He's been underdog twice that I cashed. Jeff Neal, the last time around, was happy to cash on that one. Very easy one for him there. And then the Li Jingliang a couple, I think 2 years ago by now, but happy to cash him as an underdog there as well. There's one thing that I love that he does. He gets a lot of his work done in the clinch, But the one thing that's very impressive, whenever his back gets pressed against the cage, immediately digs for underhooks. Does not waste any time. It's either digging for the underhooks or he gets the Muay Thai plum, and fighters just immediately disengage from him. It's like they don't like the pressure that he's putting on their neck or wherever it is, but he's always able to get either the Thai plum or he's able to get the underhook. And that's where he's either able to reverse the position, force the opponent to kind of push away from the clinch, and then just get back to his, weird like stutter step type of style of striking, right? Like it's not the greatest striking, but it's enough to keep volume in front of you, keep the pressure on you, keep the pace on you, and more often than not, fighters break. And I think that's exactly what we're going to see here as well with Max Griffin breaking. There's a category of guys that Neil Magny is going to beat, even at 34 years old. Max Griffin fits that category. And it's one of those spots where we don't even need to dig into the numbers. We don't even need to dig into the tape. Obviously, we have to do that and do our due diligence, obviously, because we're giving out content and advice to other people.
Of course.
But this is one of those, don't overthink it. He's going to go out there and he's going to get this fucking job done. Neil Magny by decision if you don't want to play the money line either. I think that's great. Max Griffin historically quite durable, and Neil Magny historically not much of a finisher. I think this goes the full 15, and I think we see Neil Magny get his hand raised.
Yeah, I mean, Neil Magny's a gamer. Somebody came in the chat and it was so awesome. What do you feel more confident about, Magny minus 240 or over 1.5 minus 230? And had me really thinking, I like them both. Neil Magny and to win and over 1.5 minus 200.
DraftKings, baby. Let's go.
Let's go. Why not? Or even, you know what? I actually may like it the other way because I might like that FanDuel prop better. What is that prop?
Magny round 3 or decision or something?
Yes, sir. Yes, baby. Talk to me. Minus 145. Yes. See,
there's some value there. And if he's going to break, he should make it to the third round. If Max Griffin's going to get finished, it's not going to be to a one shot or, whatever it's going to be because he, essentially gives up in there due to that pressure that Manpreet's talking about. I mean, I'm totally with it.
For sure.
Don't overthink it.
It's value because you have Magny to win Magny to win and over 2.5 is minus 150 on DraftKings, yet you can get 3 in decision minus 145. Wow. So for 5 cents, you're getting an extra 2.5 minutes. So
I'm gonna add one last thing to this. I'm not a guy that's like completely shitting on Max Griffin either.
No, not at all.
I actually had him as my lock when I played last time around against Carlos Condit. But good God, did he make that fight way more sweatier than it needed to be? Like he's laying on the leg kicks nice and early when I wanted to go for takedowns. I'm like, okay, at least he's being successful with the leg kicks, wins the first round. Continues to strike with him, but lays off the leg kicks in the second round, gets chewed up in the second round, loses that round. Then thankfully in the third round, lands that takedown with about a minute left. I think that was kind of the main thing that caused the judges to kind of give him the fight there. But that was way too much of a sweat against the guy in Carlos Condit that you should be able to go out there and beat in 2021, I believe it was, that this fight went down. But yeah, Neil Magny is just too much for him at this point in time. Unless Max Griffin pulls a knockout out of his ass, which I'd be very surprised. Neil Magny is very durable. I think the last time he got finished was via leg kick KO by Santiago Ponzinibbio a couple of years ago when they headlined a 5-round fight. It took him 4 rounds to get rid of those chicken legs from Neil Magny. I'd be surprised if Max Griffin gets on those chicken legs nice and early and finishes him that way. But yeah, Neil Magny for the boys. Let's go.
Let's go.
I love it. That's great.
On to this next one. We got Sarah McMahon versus Carol Hossa, and we got Hossa at minus 210 and Sarah McMahon at plus 175. This right here is the same feeling that I know Manpreet was getting up near the top with Grasso and JoJo. This is kind of the feeling I'm getting here with Carol Hossa and Sarah McMahon, and it kind of brings me back to like the kind of point we were making in the Blaydes versus Dawkis fight. At the UFC level, have we really seen Carol Hossa, handle takedown defense? Yes, but against who? So that's where it's like, man, like Carol Hossa as a minus 210 against someone that's committed to their wrestling before has recently. I know it was Lena Landsberg, but we did go 15 minutes with like 12 minutes of control in that fight. So if Carol Hossa can't do it off of her back and she's not, fighting and she's not scrambling so well. I mean, this is someone that has beaten, the list of names. I know Guru's itching to get to it, but Carol Hossa, just the way I see it in her 4 UFC fights, it hasn't been the type of names that I need to see to feel comfortable against someone of McMahon's caliber. But at the same time, McMahon, 41 years old, has shown us that she loves to gas out if she does get pushed in those grappling exchanges. It's a big question mark on the Carol Hossa side for me. So if anything here, I'm leaning that plus 175 on McMahon, but Guru will tell you where we're going to find that money.
Hey, sorry, one last thing. Don't you dare besmirch my girl Laura Procopio, all right? Don't you dare besmirch the name Laura Procopio. She's coming back. She's going to come back into the UFC with a vengeance.
I took her against Casey O'Neill, and for her to win those first couple of rounds, and then like third round, it was like, no. So that was something very disappointing because, you know, like Carol Hossa couldn't make Procopio gas out. So what does that say for Sarah McMahon potentially being able to have her way with it, right? I'm with you, man. Procopio is definitely the most solid name on that list.
Cashed out Molly McCann underdog ticket, by the way. Continue, Guru.
No, of course. Honestly, this fight reminds me of my prom date. Honestly, like a strict no touching policy. Like absolutely no action on this fight at all. You know, Carol Rosa has an interesting tenure here out through the UFC here, right? Four fight winning streak has looked fairly impressive. Her last loss coming to relatively new UFC prospect Melissa Gatto back in, I don't even know what promotion that is, but back in 2018. You know, the thing is she's faced 8 freaking takedowns, right? I love these stats, man. 10, she's faced 10 takedowns. She's faced 10 takedowns. Oh, no, she's attempted 10. I can't read. She's attempted 10 takedowns.
She's also faced 10.
And she's faced 10. What the? She's a faced 10.
Yeah, broke clock, you know.
Down once. I'll be okay. Reading's not my specialty. She's faced 10 takedowns here, man. And it's just not enough, especially when you look at the people. Laura Procopio, right, wins a split decision. That's a dicey fight in your debut, right? Procopio's good BJJ, but really struggled with the wrestling and struggled even more with the striking. Vanessa Mello, no longer employed with the UFC, and rightfully so. Jocelyn Edwards, she takes that Jocelyn Edwards fight. Jocelyn Edwards, I should say, takes that fight within 3 weeks after winning her debut. So she getting Jocelyn Edwards on short notice, who's a long, lanky striker, goes for 2 takedowns, big whoop. And then she beats the retiring Betch Correia, who was never really known for her physicality or being very offensively minded or being a very good UFC fighter, you know, for the last 5 years or so throughout her UFC career. So then you look on the other side of Sarah McMahon and like, okay, she lost to Juliana Pena. Juliana Pena is the freaking champ right now. Like, I know nobody wants to believe that because we all lost a boatload of money on Amanda Nunes. But like, when you watch that Sarah McMahon Pena fight, Sarah McMahon wins round 1. She gets on top round 2, does absolutely nothing with it. But I don't want to sound like a broken record. When you fight somebody that makes you work in every single aspect, every single position, it's grueling. Pena's a grappler. She's a fantastic grappler. So Sarah McMahon gasses out, beats Lena Landsberg, and, you know, past that, it's been a while since she fought, right? Lost to Marion Renault, which is super unfortunate, but she's lost to Marion Renault and Caitlin Vieira by submission. I don't think the submission is necessarily on the board here for Rosa. I've talked too much about a fight that I'm not playing, so Locke, what do you think?
Yeah, I really don't want much to do with this fight either. I feel like we've been shitting on Carol Hossa a lot, where I think she's pretty good, right? Her strength of schedule is not the greatest, obviously. I understand that, but I think she's good. She throws good power, she throws good volume. Obviously, you guys can see the number there, 7.38 strikes landed per minute. That's crazy to land that many strikes per minute. Who is it? Joanne Wood landing 6.6 strikes landed per minute, which is crazy in her own right as well. But the big question mark here is the grappling. How is she going to fare dealing with an Olympic level grappler who obviously she has a little bit of cardio issues, but only 2 fights ago she beat Lena Landsberg over 3 rounds, right? Is Carol Hossa going to be able to, put up with what Lena Landsberg did or better and give more resistance off her back? Apparently she's a brown belt, but based on the regional tape that I've been seeing, not looking like a brown belt, you know what I mean? Like, so that's a big question mark as well. If I were to make any play on this fight, it would be a small sprinkle on Sarah McMahon, maybe even Sarah McMahon via decision, which I think is around plus 400. That's the only way I'd play this. I need to see Carol Hossa answer those questions about her grappling, her defensive grappling, and even if she gets taken down, what it's like, what her defenses are like. Does she work to get back up? Is she happy with playing guard?
Yeah.
How does it look? So there's more questions that need to be answered than this, rather than bets that need to be made in this fight. Again, only bet that I'd make is McMahon via decision. That's it, and then we'll see if Hossa can answer some questions for us.
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't agree more. I really couldn't. I think yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say.
McMahon by sub if the grappling is bad, as we're
I'd
saying,
plus
800. But
if she gets a sub there.
Yeah, I see it more along that decision idea, or a little, just a little sprinkle on that money line for McMahon.
Let's sprinkle the draw. Who knows?
Ooh,
right?
yeah, you get a
first two. Carol Hossa wins the third defensively, but doesn't finish her.
I remember. So I wanted to touch on what you said very quickly was that, we kind of were shitting on Carol Hossa, but I think the line is what was causing us to shit on Carol Hossa.
Oh no, for sure. You're right.
And the other truth to that is that Carol Hossa has done everything that we would want her to with the competition. She's won.
Bingo.
That's all we want to see. We want to see you win and win dominantly, which is what you see with those ridiculous striking numbers. Because once she starts feeling herself after that first round, she just pours it on Max Holloway style. So
yeah.
Along with the voluminous lack of one punch KO power, but I do see where you're going with that, and ultimately. Yeah, that's I think we broke that one down well. We get on to our next fight here. We got Chris El Guapo Gutierrez versus Tana Storm Bakary. This one, I mean, I think we're going to see some fireworks in the stand-up. I don't think either guy's really looking for a takedown here. If it comes from anywhere, it might be the Gutierrez side, but overall, I mean, these guys are looking to stand and bang. We got a really great offensive, explosive striker in Bakary versus a guy in Gutierrez that, I mean, like, I'm super impressed with, like, the defense I've seen and his ability to also land at a high rate himself at the same time. Gutierrez, I think, varies up his game extremely well from a striking standpoint. We saw those heavy leg kicks against Vince Morales get the KO, and, I mean, he's done it against just about everyone else he's faced. The things that stand out is submission loss to Barcelos. He loses to Timur Valiev. I mean, those are excusable in my mind. And a guy like Bakary coming in off of a few first round knockouts in a row. We got 1, 2, 3. It's Brandon Davis, Kevin Natividad, Guido Canetti. I think Gutierrez has a lot better overall kickboxing, distance management, understanding of danger, and overall athleticism. And I'm not quite sure why Chris Gutierrez is sitting at plus 120 to Bakary's minus 140. I think it's based a lot in, one punch KO power, where Gutierrez has never been knocked out in his career. And it's also that I've seen him able to use that defense to his advantage. I mean, I got Gutierrez at plus 130. That's the dog I'm sniffing this week. So, Guru, tell me where you're at, man.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've been like rubbing my eyes all week with the prelims because I'm living at the dog pound. I'm all over the dogs on these prelims, and it's got me feeling kind of skeptical. It like makes you feel a little uncomfortable sometimes. I don't know why Chris Gutierrez is the underdog. I don't get it. I would think the narrative would be with him on a 6-fight winning streak, essentially. That draw with Cody Durden was like a little crazy. I think there was a point deduction in that fight. That fight was really strange. And then the split decision with Felipe Corrales, I thought that he won, so I wasn't really worried in terms of that. Sometimes judges are a little weird. It happens. I get like with Bakary, I'm not sure whether other than the knockout power, the one punch knockout, I'm not sure. It's a very weird fight. I mean, you look at the stats, it's overwhelmingly in Chris Gutierrez's favor. I'm on El Guapo. I've been waiting for like somebody to hit me with what I'm missing here. Maybe Locke is the guy.
I am picking the Bakary side here. I'm not betting him, but I am picking him to win here. Now the big thing in Gutierrez's games, especially since that Vince Morales fight, is the calf kick, right? That's kind of how he opens up the remainder of his game. It reminds you of when Mark Diakese, somebody that we were speaking about earlier in the card, when he was on that run of just kicking the shit out of these guys' calves and then letting his strikes go, until he met Rafael Fiziev, where Fiziev was able to check those kicks or even just put him on his back foot and make it very difficult for him to get those kicks off. Now, what happens to Chris Gutierrez if you take those calf kicks away? In my opinion, a little bit of a lower volume type of guy,
Yeah.
doesn't have the greatest grappling, doesn't really throw in many combinations, is on the back foot more often than not. And I feel an experienced kickboxer like Denat Batgriel will have an answer for that calf kick, whether it's checking it or keeping Gutierrez on the back foot while throwing combinations in return. That might make Gutierrez respect him a lot more. And, whether he even pops him with a shot as a counter to a calf kick, maybe that's going to intimidate Chris Gutierrez in terms of throwing more calf kicks afterwards. Right? Because if these guys go, combination for combination, bomb for bomb, I'm on the Batgriel side here, man. That guy throws with vicious intent. And I don't think, I'm not trying to take too much from his first round knockouts that he's been able to accumulate over the last couple of fights against, let's face it, Guido Canetti, fucking Kevin Natividad. Those names don't really impress me.
Yeah,
but
no, it's true.
But if you stretch it out over 50 minutes, if he's still going out there and throwing combinations, even from his back foot, right? A lot of those knockouts he's getting from his back foot. The guy throws some great combinations. As long as he's able to nullify the calf kicking game of Chris Gutierrez, I think he'll be able to open up a lot more on Gutierrez and make him pay. I don't know if he'll knock him out. Gutierrez never been knocked out, but he may also have never been hit by a guy like Denat Batgriel in the past, who seems to have explosive power as well. So if Gutierrez is not able to get a calf kicking game off, and if he can't make, or immobilize Denat Batgriel with that kick, I think he's in for a long night here. And I think that's why Batgriel will likely win this fight. If it continues to close and we get Batgriel closer to like maybe minus 120, minus 130. Maybe I'll pull the trigger just to win one unit there. But again, I've been a big calf kicking guy in my, like, whenever I do my research. I like backing guys that like to go out there and do the calf kick. But I had the same reservations about DAKC as well when he fought Fiziev. I think I picked Fiziev to win that fight as well. I don't think I'd bet it, but I thought he would have a good game plan to nullify the calf kicking game. I'm expecting the same thing here from Batgriel, and from there he should be able to do work, whether it's a knockout or a decision. I think his decision line is sitting at plus 350, which I think is fucking crazy, especially given the durability we've been seeing from Gutierrez. So if Gutierrez stays conscious and Batgriel controls this fight with his striking, that plus 350 is going to look mighty good, as well as that minus 140 on his money line.
I do find interest in the fight goes the distance at plus 100. I think that could be an interesting side as well.
One of the things I find most interesting, and I love the way you broke it down, Locke. It's just I love the way that both of these guys, their game plan is going to work directly against each other. Either Chris Gutierrez's leg kicks are going to shut down Batgriel's awesome footwork, and then eventually the power, and then that's how you take over. Or you check the leg kick, stop the leg kick game plan, and then you're going to overwhelm him the other way. It's really, really interesting. Makes it honestly one of the most exciting fights on the night for me. One thing I find really interesting, this DraftKings fight. So I love this special money line play. It's a money line decision only, right? So that means if there's a finish, void bet. Money line decision only for Chris Gutierrez minus 150. I think if it goes far, I don't know, right? I'm not sure if Batgriel is going to piece him up for that long. We see the Alatang fight. He loses that fight in the decision. I'm not sure where his cardio is. I'm not sure where his fight IQ is at all times. And like we've alluded to, he beat freaking nobody, man. Guido Canetti, man. Nobody was picking him versus Chris Mutino. Kevin Natividad, borderline probably not UFC material. And Brandon Davis looked really out of shape and unhealthy returning back to the UFC. I wasn't sure why that line was so close. So yeah, I'm very much sketched out with Batgriel, other than the knockout power. So really, really interesting fight. Let's get to this one, which is so interesting too. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we got Ali Ashkab Kisriya versus Denise Tululin.
So many stats.
Yeah, there's so many stats to break down here. As we got a couple guys making their debut. We don't like including the contender series stuff because it ends up being skewed with a lot of the squash matches and stuff like that. So you won't see us include those here because it could really skew some stuff when it gets into guys' careers. So overall, I mean, just from the limited regional tape that I got down to on these guys, and of course the contender series fight for Kisriya, I mean, we see that Kisriya is going to come out. He's going to be aggressive. He can work it in any which way in MMA. But Tululin, we've seen him sparring with Strickland. He was in the corner. He's been at Extreme Couture. He's obviously trusted to be out there. And I mean, you got to be a pretty good sparring partner to be out there at Strickland. However, like when I watched him in his actual fights, it's like he throws this weird like lead knee a little too often. He throws some real swinging hooks a little bit wildly. I just don't see like the overall crispness from my side. I do see some explosive power, but it's like the dude's also 10-5 with 1 knockout loss, 2 submission losses, 2 decision losses. It's like he's willing to lose any which way it goes. And when it's like only a 66% win percentage, it's like, it really makes you question, okay, why did this guy really get the call up here? And I mean, listen, coming out of a solid gym like that, you got to imagine he's ready here. But overall, there's a reason why Kisriya opened up as like a -2 something. And we caught him at a -310. He wasn't available on Bet MMA tips, so we couldn't really post it as early as we wanted. But he's the first leg of like a best bet that we had, which these days you're not quite getting the same type of money on. So it's hard to really suggest it as much. I mean, Kisriya, he's all the way out to a -750 now.
Jesus.
I really can't like encourage you to go make a play at this point. I'm sorry that we couldn't get it up on the Bet MMA tips earlier in the week, but like,
yeah,
I mean, there's a reason why he has slid out to that number. It's just like I can't, for the love of God, recommend for you to do that at the moment. So it's like, oh, do you take like the inside the distance? Like, fight doesn't go the distance is -800. It's like any sort of value that was sitting on this fight, like Kisriya by submission is -120, but knockout is +340. So like a little ground and pound instead of like a choke. Yeah, I mean, maybe we could see that, like, if you're looking for like a juicier prop or something like that, or but I wouldn't recommend you to be parlaying the money line at the -750 now. And maybe you want to find a prop, but Guru, you got anything?
Yeah, no, I'm so glad we got down on this early. I hate being those douches. I'll say that every time we do it. But we did get down on it early. -310 on him, which is just again a steal, which is now at -700. How it's blown up obviously could make anybody sketched out. But like you were saying, I'm not sure if Dennis is, I mean, even polished enough to necessarily be in the UFC. I think he gets a fair kick up from the gym that he's at. And this is what it is, man. You happen to be in Vegas. Okay, well, we need you for a fight. All right, so get ready, come on out. This is how you get your foot in the door. You're gonna get knocked the fuck out. We'll see you again in 7 months, but you're in the UFC now, kid. So let's get it. I don't know. You seeing anything different, Locke?
Shout out to Sean Holland in the chat saying under 1.5 and -190. That's crazy. A lot of people think that Kisriya is just going to go out there and squash the guy. Let me give you guys a little bit of food for thought here. Kisriya, this will be his second fight at 185 pounds, lifelong 170 or before that. The kid was skin and bones just 6 years ago. 5-6 years ago. If you guys go to the tape index, watch back his fight with Artur Magomedov. It looks like they're recording it in 1990 because the camera is so shitty. But you can make out these two little stick figures just fucking throwing shots at each other. Kisriya used to be a very small guy. I don't know if he's on that Russian good or what, but now he's up at 185 pounds, starting to thicken up a little bit. That guy that he fought on the Contender Series, Shigumoto, I believe his name was, didn't look like a big 185er either. He seemed like a guy that was just taking the fight up a weight class himself. Now you got Dennis, 6'1". What is that? A 3-inch height advantage, 4-inch height advantage that he's gonna have you. He's a big 185er. He gave that what's the kid's name? Ikram Vagayev, I believe the name was, 2 fights ago, his last loss. He gave that guy a solid resistance for 2.5 rounds before Ikram finally got that Kimura in round 3. Now, I'm not saying that I'm picking Dennis to win this fight. Obviously, Ashkab should win this fight, but I don't think it's going to happen as swiftly as a lot of people are making it seem, and even how much that under 1.5 is making it seem at -190. The over might be the sneaky bet here at +155, +160, with him, getting Tululin to the ground and trying to, impose his heavy grappling style, his big strikes from on top, or his submission game. But Dennis might make it harder then it could be, right? Dennis, it's been a year and a half, 2 years now that he's been over there, Extreme Couture, getting much better, training with a lot better sparring partners. Maybe he could be getting better in his own right, and he could prolong this fight compared to what most people think this fight's going to be. But God, it's tough to back a minus 750. A guy who's only going into his second middleweight fight may not even pan out at middleweight. Maybe Dennis just knees his head into orbit here when he goes in for a takedown or something like that. That's absolutely possible in this spot. Even Kisriya by decision at plus 550. That could be a spot if he's not able to establish that top position here against the much bigger man in Dennis. I'm interested to see what improvements Dennis has been making, but you nailed it, TB, man. A 10-5 record. He only has 2 wins over guys with winning records as well. That's a huge red flag as well. The last guy that he beat, I think he was 11-2, the Brazilian guy, but that guy was giving him the exact fight that he needed, a distance kickboxing match, and he eventually landed that kill shot to get him out of there. Kisriya is going to be all the way in or all the way out, but I'm interested to see how he deals with the guy that's a legitimate 185 or a big 185, albeit. And if he can get him out there as quickly as most people think. I'm going to stay away from this fight. I might just throw a Hail Mary shot at the Kisriya via decision at plus 550.
Ooh.
But I think Kisriya gets it done. Yeah, more questions in this fight that I think a lot of people need to see answers to before we go out there and parlay a minus 750.
I love that, because on the show, like I said before, we love to fade the narrative.
Yeah.
So the public narrative is that fight's gonna end early, this, that, and the other. I forgot what that reminds me of. It reminds me of a fight maybe last week as well, or 2 weeks ago. Maybe we could just say it was the Alex Pereira fight, just for shits and giggles. Like, everybody thought it was either Bruno Silva by knockout or Pereira by knockout. Guess what? They went the distance. Yeah, that was the fight, because it was minus 600 or something, minus 650 to go to not go the distance. That's this fight to me.
Yeah.
Oh, and it was the other fight.
Buckley and Al Hassan.
No, yes, but oh my God, I have to look it up. Fuck me. You guys keep talking.
You're not talking Walker and Santos, are you? Santos?
No.
I just got flashbacks.
Yeah,
don't you dare bring that shit up.
I got it, boys. I got it. I'm quick with
What
it.
is it?
This is the fight, and this is the one I meant. It wasn't the other one. It was Petrosian Rodriguez. That was it. Because the same idea. A new guy coming into the UFC like Petrosian has all these early knockouts. Oh, if it gets past 2, he can't do it. And then he does it anyway. That's this fight. That's this fight. I think we take the fight to go the distance. I think we fade that narrative. I think you're right.
Well, what's the fight goes to decision here?
Oh, geez.
Plus 100. Good Lord.
Wow. I mean, over 1.5 plus 155 if you don't quite have the stomach for that one.
plus 410 on FanDuel. So I mean,
it could be a quick, just run over by Kisriya, but if we look into a little bit deeper, we're looking at the numbers here more than we're actually looking at the possible outcome, and the numbers, I think they're just a little bit too skewed.
Yeah, and that brings us right along to our next fight, where this is Manon Fiorot now at minus 450 and Jennifer Maia at plus 340. So this is one of those ones also where the line has really run as the week has gone on. I mean, Fiorot at one point was sitting in the low minus 300 range, and I could totally see there's a parallel with the type of not quite as extreme, but like Chookagian, Fiorot, the type of idea of the distance striker that uses their volume and the kia and the Fiorot, she lets you know when she's throwing her combos out. So it's
sorry, what sound do those girls make again? What do they sound like?
I'm sorry, what was that? I blacked out for a second. I don't know what happened. So we got, listen, Jennifer Maia, like we talked about in her Chookagian fight, if you could trust her to go out there and implement an offensive wrestling game plan, it would be a lot easier to stomach taking her as a side overall. But it's we just don't see that on a consistent basis. And when she does try to go to that offensive wrestling, it's really not successful. But from a striking standpoint, she is a crisper boxer, at least as far as varied combinations than Fiorot, I would say. Fiorot does tend to throw the same shit over and over, but I really just don't think that Jennifer Maia's defense is all that great in comparison to her accuracy. So overall, it's Fiorot's going to be landing her 1, 2, 3. You know, she gets the hook around the guard. She's going to throw that little side push kick. It's like, unless Fiorot starts really gassing out, and I don't think that Mayra Bueno Silva brings that same. I don't think that Jennifer Maia brings that same type of walk forward, eat combos, and just keep smiling and shrugging type of deal that Manon Fiorot kind of struggled with against Mayra Bueno Silva. I think it's
zombie.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different in where Maia is a lot more low output, and I don't think she's going to push that pace quite as much because I don't think her cardio could quite handle it. So as Boone hops in here, I mean, this is something I definitely lean to at this point. If you hold by decision at -105, Maya's got a chin. And yeah, but Fiorot, second leg of the parlay that we threw together with Kisriya, and yeah, we couldn't quite get it up on Bet MMA, but you know, Fiorot now -450, we got her -385. The line ended up being -151. But yeah, I think Kisriya just got loaded on Bet MMA. So unfortunately, we're not going to be throwing that one down at this point. Guru, I mean, you see anything else in this one?
Yeah, I mean, I got this at -141, so you know, I gotta put that little edge in over you. But no, listen, we've got mom saying, yeah, we don't need to go pick up Caitlin Chookagian. We have Caitlin Chookagian at home, Manon Fiorot taking on Jennifer Maia here, and like you said, I mean, you everybody after that Shevchenko fight, it was like, oh my god, the takedown, she held it down, she won a round. She doesn't do it. She doesn't do it. I wish we could game plan for these fighters. I wish we could kind of like, you know, video game them and shoot for that takedown and use some of their specialties. She doesn't do it. She's not going to do it. You can't bet on her to do it. I think, I know from what we've watched of her in the past, she's going to be way too game to play kickboxer here with Manon Fiorot. And I think appropriately so. She's a beast. Like her nickname says, she's a beast at kickboxing. And I think she's going to win a decision. Maybe she coughs up a round somewhere randomly on a couple of judges' scorecards, but she should get it done. And I also think that she should be far enough on the judges' scorecards 2 rounds in that if Jennifer Maia comes in with some vet gamesmanship and wins that 3rd round because maybe Fiorot's tired or lets her too close into the boxing range as opposed to keeping her more kickboxing range, then I do think Fiorot gets the win. It was nice to get Fiorot at whatever it was, -340. Like you said, now she's up to 410 for whatever the fuck. It's too high. Now, happy with where we got it. Too much of us talking. Let's get to lock.
I'm glad a lot of people stuck with that Jennifer Maia wrestling narrative going into the Caitlin Chookagian fight, because that got me a nice -175 on Caitlin Chookagian, which probably should have been like -250, -300, especially considering we just saw that fight like 14 months prior, right? It's crazy that we still got that kind of line out there, and all of a sudden she wins 2 minutes off of Valentina Shevchenko from taking her off, and now all of a sudden she's this much evolved fighter. Like we got to pick and choose which narratives we're going to follow along with. And unfortunately for a lot of people that are backing Jennifer Maia that night, they got the wrong narrative. But yeah, I think this looks similar to the Caitlin Chookagian fight, but maybe a little bit more vicious and a little bit more brutal, right? And Chookagian doesn't mind holding back her power, whereas Fiorot seems to throw nothing but power when she throws her strikes. And she's just not a one-shot quitter, right? She likes to go out there and throw in combinations, and that's what I like about her game. But the one thing that she does very well is kind of maintaining her balance when she's getting in and out of these pocket exchanges, and that kind of helps her foresee any type of takedowns that might be coming back while she's throwing her shots, right? There's a couple of times, I know, Tabitha Ricci's not fucking Jennifer Maia, right? She's obviously up a weight class. She's very small in that. But you see anytime Fiorot closes the distance and throws strikes, and you see a sign of Tabitha Ricci trying to change levels, you see Fiorot kind of just push back and just kind of maintain her balance, get back out of the range, and just stay in the striking realm. I think that's exactly what we're going to see here. Jennifer Maia is no Tatiana Suarez, right? She's not this crazy wrestler who's going to be able to catch her with a beautiful counter takedown or something like that. I think she's going to go out there and strike with her. I think she's going to try to immobilize her a little bit with her leg kicks, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. And I think we just see Fiorot kind of cruise her way to a win here. I think she could get a stoppage late in this fight. I think she throws hard enough. I think she's accurate enough to land on Jennifer Maia consistently here. She's going to have the speed advantage. She's going to have the power advantage. I could see a finish transpire here. Plus 215, I believe, is the KO prop on Fito. Don't mind that, but I don't mind her as a parlay spot either. I was originally thinking I'd bet Jennifer Maia here because the line was obviously going to be wide, but after running the tape, I think this Fito chick is the real deal. I think she's going to find herself in a title shot by this time next year. You know what I mean? I think she gets 1 or 2 more scalps under her belt, and after that, I think she gets a title shot.
Yeah, I mean, it's this one, it's Shukagian, and then boom, you're right there.
Pretty much.
I mean, I hear you, man. I'm all over the Fito chain, and that power, like you're talking about, that's something that's going to set her apart here. So I really can't hate on that knockout prop.
As you guys get into this next fight, I'm just going to quickly stop my cam and mute my mic because my mic stand is giving out on me right now. So I just have to readjust it.
Go ahead,
as we get to this next fight.
All right, beautiful. So let's pull it up on the stats here because honestly, this next fight here, I mean, I know it's the second fight of the night, so it's like normally, you know, in that spot, we're not talking, you know, like the highest level of fighters, anything like that. I mean, David Dvorak versus Mathias Nicolau. Honestly, this is one of those fights where that I'm actually this might be the fight I'm one of the most excited for in the whole night as far as like competitive balance. I mean, we're at minus 125 for Dvorak and plus 105 for Nicolau. That line's been shrinking as the week goes on. I mean, I think these guys match up so well in just about every category. I mean, the size, Nicolau, you know, got a little height advantage. Dvorak takes it back on the reach. I mean, I love how Dvorak switches his stances a little more, but Nicolau, he brings that clean boxing type of style. And Dvorak, he loves working off that back foot and using his movement. I love his crisp combos. He throws every type of style. Like, it's just one of those fights where, like, I feel like we're going to see such a good one here. And I'm having such a tough time, like, really solidifying on a side. But I got to lean to the Dvorak side. But ultimately, my favorite thing on this fight is this fight to go the distance at minus 190.
Yeah. That's a great bet. I do like the fight to go the distance as well, and not only because I will be rooting for as much of this fight as possible between two of the most underrated technical strikers in the division. So exciting. Dvorak has just that incredible overhand right counter. You know, Nicolau just has had an awesome, right? Isn't this his second run in the UFC?
Yes.
He's had an incredible second run in the UFC here, right? They give him a killer in Manel Kopp. Maybe he wins that fight, maybe not, but he wins that fight via split decision. Has a fantastic first round, that's undebatable. Versus Tim Elliott, has a terrible first round versus Tim Elliott, but you know, he kind of takes that round, really figures out Tim Elliott's game plan, who's kind of a step ahead of him in that first round, and then beats the brakes off of him for rounds 2 and 3 impressively. You know, so well, that's not the highest level of competition. Okay, well, David Dvorak fought who? Juan Camilo Ronderos. I don't. Is that guy even still employed in the UFC? What he was doing coke, so probably not. Jordan Espinoza, man, like. Tim Elliott beat Jordan Espinoza like he owed him his lunch money and hit on Gina Mazzani, and then he beat Bruno Silva, who's like decent enough, but
that was probably his best win in his debut.
And that was like before, you know, Bruno Silva has really gotten his game together and is now a lot better. So I don't, you know, I will love that Ronderos submission for the rest of forever. I watch plenty of fights and don't do any MMA, but know enough to understand that a one-armed fucking rear naked choke man is disgusting. That's fucking crazy. The strength, the technique, the power, the fighting, the whole thing. He's fighting the hands on the bottom, and it was amazing. But I get the possibly seemingly more well-rounded striker. I got my lovely stats here. He's got more green on his side, and I get him at dog money. Let's go. I'm riding on a dog again. I'm taking Nicolau. I am kind of ready to lose this bet on a unit shot here, but I also, like you said, I would maybe kind of follow up with a unit or maybe even 2 on the fight to go the distance, so could maybe end up making it back. Locke, glad to see you're back and situated. Thanks for not dipping out on us. But
no, it's not that at all, dude. So I have my mic stand hooked up to like the wooden IKEA table, And anytime it like I move it around too much, it just starts digging into it, and then it just topples over after a couple rounds. And it's done it maybe 3 or 4 times. You should see this table. It has like crack marks on it all over the fucking place. I'm trying to find like a steel table that I'm trying
Mine
to
is hooked up to like the oldest glass snack table. I think I've recognized these tables for the last 25 years of my life. Like I don't even like they've been
and it's
around
holding steady.
since yeah, like I don't even know.
These ones are quite heavy as well too, right? So I think it puts a lot of pressure on the tables. But either way, I digress. Let's get into the actual to the fight here. I'm very excited about this fight. I caught the beginning of the breakdown here, and you guys are absolutely right. It sucks that this fight is getting buried as a third fight on the card, because it's up there in terms of one of the best, flyweight fights that we have over the last couple months, right? Dvorak's on a great streak. Mathias Nicolau has been, I think he's kind of underwhelmed since his return to the UFC, although he's been picking up wins. I had him as my lock of the night play against Tim Elliott. That was way too close than it should have been, right?
Yes.
I think Tim Elliott was more than happy to just lay on his back in that third round because James Krause told him that he was already up 2. Right, that was a big, fumble there from my guy Krause. And then the fight before that against Manel Kape, very close, and there's an argument that Kape deserved to win that fight as well. Now with Dvorak, this guy looks like he has the goods. His striking, his combinations, his footwork, that nasty choke that he got against Ronderos. That guy looks like a hobbit, by the way. I'm not sure if you guys know that. Fucking kill me when I see that guy. Yes. I remember I saw him sitting in the Apex in the crowd one time, and I'm just like, oh, that's fucking Juan Carlos Ronderos. The only way I know that is he looks like a fucking hobbit motherfucker.
Anyway. Instead of being obsessed with the ring, he's obsessed with cocaine.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, no, the first legitimate test that Dvorak's going to get here against Nicolau, and I think he passes the test here, man. I think Nicolau's best way to win this fight is to get it to the ground and try to use his jiu-jitsu, but Dvorak seems to have that part of his game shored up. How it's going to look against a little legitimate guy in Nicolau, that remains to be seen. So the only reason I'm really staying off this fight is more so statistical than anything, and that's the fact that slight favorites is the bane of the existence of most gambling degenerates. If you guys look at my Bet MMA tips, I am absolutely horrible at picking slight favorites. And that's kind of what's holding me off of betting Dana Baturiel. That's what's holding me off of betting David Dvorak, because I get slaughtered in that price range. I just can't pick them correctly. I don't know what it is, right? That's what's holding me back here, but I'm still picking Dvorak to get the dub, man. I more than likely won't bet it because, I just have that statistic in the back of my ear going, hey, you forget about all those other close favorites, sir, that you bet. You don't remember Marc-Andre Barrio getting starched by fucking Chidi Ejikwani? No, you don't remember all that shit? You don't remember fucking Dan Hooker's slight favorite getting knocked out by Arnold Allen last week?
That was the worst. Yeah.
That type of shit.
That's so funny.
What's keeping me off Dvorak.
It's funny because we're actually our Bet MMA, we are so bad at picking the heavy favorites.
Oh, that's where I do my best work. A 17% ROI over 100 plus bets. Like it's one of the best. Like I've checked out the other guys, all the top guys. They are around that 10 to 15 range as well themselves. Wow. But even having that 17% ROI, again, people may call it square, but is it square if you're betting and getting a large sample size as a 17% ROI? I don't think so. So I'm going to stick what I'm good at, and that's picking the obvious favorites and hopefully avoiding the landmines like the Corey McKenna's and all that shit. I don't want to get caught up in any of that, and I feel like I'm pretty good at it. But in regards to this fight, the pick is Dvorak. I'm not betting the fight though, just because of what I laid out for you guys. But I think he's the real deal. I think he's the shit. I think he outstrides Nicolau, takes home a decision victory.
I got fight goes the distance minus 190, and that's going to end up on a nice play for me right there. I feel so confident that these guys it's a technical fight. They're so high level, and these guys don't really, get knocked out. I know we saw that Dustin Ortiz head kick. That was a weird one. That was a while ago. Nicolau held up to Manel Kape's best, even though we saw him. He got a little hurt there, but. Man, I really love this.
One thing that kind of came to my mind, I know it's about a prior fight that we talked about, but I felt like I should share it with you guys. The Brian Barberina, Matt Brown fight doesn't go to decision. Minus 135 on that fight doesn't go to decision, right? what it kind of reminds me of is the Nikita Krylov and Paul Craig fight that we had the other week, where the fight doesn't go to decision, was minus 200, all because of Krylov going to 3 straight decision fights in his last 3 fights, right? Otherwise, we know that shit would have been minus 500, minus 600. He goes out there, gets the finish, or gets finished, I should say. Same thing is kind of happening in this fight, where you got Matt Brown going to, or sorry, not Matt Brown, you got Brian Barberina going to 3 straight decisions. That is influencing this line to be at that minus 135 range. But we know how these guys fight. They like to go throw leather. Right. They like to go in to have some wars. They want to entertain the fans, and they're going to have fans to entertain this time around, not fighting at the Apex anymore. Sorry to bring that up, but
I like that.
That comparison.
That's part of the conversation.
Yeah,
exactly. That's kind of the whole premise of the show. It's very interesting. Again, one of my shows that I love the most of you is propping you up, which is like, you come out and you present your info. This show is like, more of just the conversation. Let's flesh it out. Let's really have a brainstorming thinking session. Let's have a discourse about the fights, not just present our side. And, thank you for bringing that back up.
I am enjoying this fucking podcast. You guys are killing it. So let's keep on going. I know we're at an hour 43 right now.
And this is it. We are about to bring it home, ladies and gentlemen.
You got a wife to deal with.
This is it.
Thanks so much, Locke. Seriously.
It's all good, brother.
Let's bring it home, baby. Let's
go.
The opening fight, Luis Saldana versus Bruno Souza. I'll keep it short and sweet for you guys. I mean, I like the idea of Bruno Souza as an underdog. I hate the volume that comes behind it. And, I mean, we'll just go and start getting these stats pulled up here. But the other thing about Saldana that I hate is his gas tank. So it's like, does Bruno Souza kind of start taking over early second round, late second round, not until the third round because he's on the back foot so much? Like, I just don't feel comfortable enough to lay anything like money line on this. But this is another one of those where like Saldana has been a finisher in the past, but now he's gotten to the UFC. And like, man, I feel like he doesn't quite have that same type of juice overall. So ultimately, bang, where I go back to, fight goes the distance, minus 200. Let's go. That's where I'll be sitting.
Yeah, I like the fight to go the distance as well. So not shockingly, and I'm not really sure why. I maybe really need to revisit my thoughts on this. I once again ended up on the dog in this prelim spot. I really like the tape of what I saw on Bruno Souza. Yes, you're right. Sometimes the output's low. Like
he's been there a while though. He's been at fight ready for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
No, all good. But so one of the things that you see from Souza is, at least that I saw, especially when watching his regional LFA tape, is that he's like methodical and kind of a slow starter to start that first round. But then once he starts feeling himself and starts flexing, he goes and he will throw combos. What I saw from Luis Saldana, especially in the Austin Lingo fight, is one shot at a time. One strike at a time, one strike at a time. And he's gassing out, throwing one strike at a time with no power. I was not impressed. And maybe I'm just salty because I lost money on Jordan Griffin, but he did not beat Jordan Griffin. He did not win that fight. Terrible, terrible decision. So in my mind, he's 0-2 in the UFC, has not showed great chops. He beat Vince Murdoch to get here. I like Vince Murdoch. I like his story. He's kind of a cool guy, cool tattoos, whatever. Bro, he gets on tough, loses to Brady Heistad. He gets a fight. I just wanted to look to see. He gets a fight in Total Warrior Combat in February. He loses to this guy, Uzama, who's 2-7. 2-7. So that's your ticket in. You beat a guy that just lost to a guy that's 2-7. It's a little MMA math, but like, come on, man. He hasn't beat anybody. He hasn't done anything. And then he lost to Austin Lingo. I picked Austin Lingo. I was happy to pick Austin Lingo. I'm not taking Saldana here. Bruno Souza is a champion in not 1, but 2 regional MMA promotions. He's gone the 4-round, 5-round championship distance. He's prepared like that. Yeah, I mean, does Saldana have 10 more fights than him? Yeah, that is also an interesting point. But I'm on the dog here, man. I'm feeling greasy. Call me Clint. I'm dog chasing. Grab me my tinfoil. Love that guy. Love you guys. What do you see here, Locke?
Honestly, it's actually news to me that fucking Vince Murdoch lost to that guy that's 2-7. I think that fight just took place in February of this last year. I'm gonna have to dig up that tape and see how this man got choked out in 2.5 minutes. That is not a good look at all. Very bad, awful look. I was actually at Luis Saldana's last fight when he fought Austin Lingo at the Apex there. If you guys think Safe Sayud is loud on TV, just wait till you guys get locked into the Apex with that man, because that guy takes over the entire acoustics of that place. But yeah, it was fun watching that fight. Great fight. But the one thing with Saldana, like you guys kind of touched on, that gas tank does not look good later in fights, right? We saw it in the Jordan Griffin fight. We obviously saw it in the Austin Lingo fight. But I think we might see a change of that in this fight, given how Bruno Souza fights. Because Bruno Souza, again, not a pressure fighter. The guy likes to be on his back foot, likes to blitz and forward every time, every now and then. But it's not like he's putting on Austin Lingo or Jordan Griffin type of pace. The guy's content with just staying on the outside and kind of picking his opponents from there. That allows Luis Saldana to kind of get his game off, try to get his confidence going, and let his strikes start to land and gain that confidence. And he can do it at his pace, because Bruno Souza is not in any rush to get anything going there. So that's kind of my concern in terms of taking the Bruno Souza and walking into that cardio narrative that Luis Saldana has, because he's had fights in the past where his cardio looks good over 15 minutes, and I think it's more to do with the opponent than himself. And I feel like they'll have a good game plan here. Not to mention another kind of connection that Luis Saldana has to Bruno Souza here. Bruno Souza beat Kamala Kirk, another Arizona Siege MMA guy, shares the same coaches as Fight Ready with Santino DeFranco, who's obviously doing his own breakdown show now as well, and Eddie Cha. They were the coaches of Kamala Kirk, as just they are the coaches of Luis Saldana. So they have a little bit of a blueprint on Bruno Souza. And if you guys remember watching back that Souza and Kamala Kirk fight, it was a lot of Kirk moving forward, Souza throwing off of his back foot, but Kirk was just not throwing enough volume. If they can rectify that issue by allowing or telling Saldana, you just need to throw a little bit more than what Canelo is throwing, you might be able to get the decision this time around. But I do agree with you guys. Probably the best bet on this fight goes to decision. A little chalky, minus 190, minus 200, whatever it is. I'm kind of surprised if this fight does end inside the distance. I think both guys have solid durability. It will come down to whether Luis Saldana will gas out from, pushing his own pace. If he pushes his own pace and still gasses out, then this guy just has a legitimate problem. But if he is the one that can control the pace of this fight by moving forward and throwing a little bit of output, this is going to creep over that 2.5 mark. This is going to creep into that 15-minute mark, and we're going to see one of these guys get their hand raised by decision. I think it's going to be Saldana by being a little bit more active, throwing a little bit more, and the optics of him moving forward are going to look better to the judges as well. So I'll lean Saldana, not betting that dude until we see those cardio issues rectified, though. But I want to see if my thought process is correct here in the fact that he'll be able to control where this fight goes and how much activity is going to be in this fight as well. So I'll go Saldana decision, but fight goes to decision is the sharpest bet in my opinion.
Yeah, that lack of urgency from Bruno Souza, and maybe it is because he's kind of used to having the time to fight. It is concerning. That makes me kind of want to parlay the last two fights, both of them to go the distance.
I was thinking
minus 180 and minus 182 on FanDuel respectively. And you get that at plus 141. So I'll probably just do that. That sounds
not bad. I'll say this last thing about this fight. Sure. I had Bruno Souza and Melsik Baghdasaryan fight doesn't go to decision, but good God, Bruno Souza did not engage as much as I thought he was going to, and that kind of pretty much made that crash and burn. Coming in on short notice, clearly not in shape at all. If you guys look back at how he did that fight, I thought Melsik was just going to go out there and starch this dude, but he couldn't get anything going. Souza didn't even engage.
Yeah, we were at that fight, which was incredible.
Was that MSG? I think
that was a great card.
That was a birthday present over there.
Yeah, it was. Dude, speaking of which, Manpreet, if you're ever in the tri-state area, New York City, New Jersey, man, I owe you at least a drink, man. Like, for sure.
No, bro, I'd be down, man. I've only I've been to New Jersey a bunch for a couple of those fights over there at the Prudential Center and the Izod or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I had an amateur fight that I went to in Utica, New York. I don't know if you guys have ever been up to Utica.
That's upstate,
yeah. But good God, that is a shithole and a half.
Yeah, and then you're like Buffalo, like that's interesting. Yeah.
we had a couple amateur guys go down there and compete at one of their auditoriums, but great arena, a great little crowd that they were able to muster up. But again, what the fuck else is there to do in Utica, right?
Nope. No, man, that's
nothing.
the beauty of this tri-state area. You could go to Philly, you could go to New York, you could go to the beach, man.
Philly.
Right in the middle, baby.
AC, hit the casino, hit the sports book.
Hey, man, I mean, overall, hope you guys made it this far. Please like and subscribe if you did, and even if you didn't. And man, what an honor it's been to have our man Manpreet Lock of the Night come on the show with us, because it's definitely one of our idols and reasons why we got into this game. So to come full circle and have you join us, man, what a great time.
No, man, I appreciate it. I know I'm a chatty Cathy at times, so we did get over that hour and a half mark that you guys usually like to hit. But I like chatting it up. You guys are, a cool bunch of dudes. You guys know what the fuck you're talking about. You guys are putting in the work clearly, and that's very evident with just talking to you guys. You guys know as well. As soon as you talk to somebody, within the first minute or 2 minutes, you know whether they know they're talking if they know what they're talking about or if they're not.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I could tell immediately you guys know what the fuck you guys are talking about. Shout out to Daz as well. Daz is a dope dude.
Awesome.
The go, man.
But yeah, no, appreciate it. Again, hit me up whenever. Give me enough notice. I'll be able to carve out some time for you guys and do this again. I love doing it. You guys are awesome.
For sure. At MMA Lock of the Night, man. Check
MMA
out
LOTN.
LOTN, Lock of the Night, all of it. Catch him, man. He's the best, man. Seriously, thank you so much for your time, man. It's and all the gracious compliments. Seriously, you're the best, dude.
You guys are awesome. Keep fucking killing it.
We will. We definitely will. And listen, you can find me at Guru Scouting MMA, Twitter, Verdict, Instagram, and Tapology. You can find my awesome co-host, TB Scouting MMA, Twitter, Verdict, Instagram, and Tapology, MMA LOTN. Check out all his shows, man. That's
he's pumping out the content.
Them out. He's somebody that is so good and putting out all that good stuff. He went full time, man. He's living the dream.
Hell
man.
Yeah.
He's just killing it. So we're gonna keep promoting him, and can't wait to have him back.
Hell yeah.
Always down, guys. Always down. I appreciate it.
Seriously, thanks so much, dude.
Take care, guys.
Wait. Oh my God. And this wraps up a wonderful 8-week stretch of cards back to back.
Good point.
And now we get a week off, a little bit of reprieve till we get into UFC 274. Right? Oh my goodness.
Hell yeah.
What a
273.
273. Oh my God, I'm getting too excited. 273. I keep doing that. 273. We get Volkanovski and Korean Zombie and Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling too.
Quick plug. I'm going to be doing the coaches main event challenge for that card as well. And interestingly enough, the 2 of the 3 coaches I'm going to be having on that show to break down the fights are tied to the co-main event and main event of that card. Aljamain Sterling with Eric Nixick. So I'm interested to hear his thoughts on that fight. And then Santino DeFranco with Korean Zombie fighting Alexander Volkanovski. So very interested to hear their insights on that. And I can't wait to do that show as well.
I can't wait to watch that one. That's
hell yeah.
That's gonna be fire.
You're a legend, man. Look at you.
Let's fucking go.
You're a legend, man. Let's go. Seriously, 2 hours. We did it. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Locke, I'm gonna say it one more time. Thanks so much for your time, buddy. You take care, all right?
No worries, my man.